There are moments in life when the weight of waiting presses so heavily on the soul that you begin to wonder if the silence of heaven is permanent. You pray, you labor, you hope, yet the answer seems always postponed, always just out of reach. Days turn into months, months into years, and the heart begins to ask questions that echo in the hollow chambers of waiting. Has God forgotten me? Has my effort been wasted? Has time robbed me of what was promised? But pause, my friend, and consider this. What if the apparent delay was never a denial, but a divine orchestration? What if the seeming silence was not absence, but preparation? God is not bound by clocks or calendars. His ways are not measured in the increments of seconds, but in the fulfillment of His purposes. Where you see delay, He sees development. Where you feel the ache of waiting, He is cultivating strength. And when His appointed time arrives, it will take but one move from His hand to do what years of striving could never achieve. Imagine Joseph languishing in a prison cell, years of injustice piled upon him like a weight of chains. Forgotten by men, he must have felt delayed by heaven. But in a single night, when Pharaoh had a dream, Joseph's story turned. One conversation shifted him from the dungeon to the palace. Years of suffering evaporated in the light of one divine appointment. That is the nature of God's timing. Sudden, decisive, unstoppable. Consider also the people of Israel, bowed under the oppression of Pharaoh. Generations groaned under delay, crying for deliverance that seemed never to come. Yet in one night God moved. The blood on their doorposts became the sign, and they were thrust out of captivity into freedom. Centuries of bondage were erased by one command: let my people go. Your life is no different. The years you feel you have lost are not beyond His reach. The opportunities you think have slipped through your fingers are not irretrievable to Him who created time itself. With a single touch, He can restore what was stolen. With one word, He can reverse the verdicts that were spoken against you. With one open door, He can propel you further in a moment than your efforts could in decades. And so the question is not whether you are behind, nor whether you are delayed. The real question is, are you willing to trust the one who can redeem time itself? Can you rest in the certainty that He is not slow, but precise? That His timing is never late, but always right? For the God who parts seas and topples giants does not struggle with your calendar. He does not need years to bring forth your breakthrough. He only needs a moment. Think of your own life. The tears you have cried in secret, the doors that remained shut, the efforts that seemed wasted. What if they were all being gathered like seeds, waiting for the right season to burst forth into a harvest? And what if this is that season? What if you are standing on the edge of that one move, that one act of grace, that one divine intervention that will wipe away the bitterness of waiting and crown you with joy unspeakable? Take courage then. Do not despair in the delay, for the God who moves mountains has not forgotten you. One whisper from His lips can silence every voice of opposition. One shift of His hand can place you in rooms you never dreamed possible. One move from God will erase years of delay, and when it happens, you will see that not a single moment was wasted. Every step, every tear, every waiting year will be revealed as part of His grand design. So stand firm, lift your eyes. The author of your story is not finished, and His next move may be the one that changes everything. There is perhaps no clearer illustration of God's power to erase years of delay with one sudden move than the story of Joseph. For 13 long years, Joseph lived a life that seemed marked by disappointment, betrayal, and delay. From the moment his own brothers sold him into slavery, it appeared as though every dream he had once held dear had slipped through his fingers. In Potiphar's house he served faithfully, only to be falsely accused. In the prison he gave his gifts freely, interpreting dreams, only to be forgotten by the very man he had helped. If ever there was a man who knew the ache of delay, it was Joseph. Each day must have felt like a cruel echo of the day before, time dragging slowly, purpose seemingly out of reach. And yet, heaven was not silent. It was working in hidden places. For what Joseph did not see was that delay was shaping him, chiseling his character and aligning circumstances beyond his comprehension. God was weaving together threads of sovereignty that could not be unraveled by human betrayal or forgotten promises. And then, suddenly, in one night, everything shifted. Pharaoh had a dream that disturbed him deeply, and Joseph, the forgotten prisoner, was summoned to interpret it. What had been 13 years of silence was shattered by a single call. He went to bed as a prisoner, but by morning he stood before Pharaoh, and by the end of that day he wore the signet ring of authority and ruled over Egypt. This is the mysterious beauty of God's timing. What feels wasted is never wasted in His hands. What feels like years of delay is often the soil in which He is planting the roots of strength and faith. If Joseph had been released earlier, he might have returned to obscurity, unprepared for the weight of leadership. But because God waited, Joseph was ready for the sudden elevation that was to come. His wisdom had been refined by trial, his humility shaped by betrayal, and his faith strengthened by suffering. And so it is with you. The prison doors of your life may have seemed locked for years. The prayers you have whispered may appear unanswered. Perhaps people have forgotten the kindness you showed them, the loyalty you gave them, and the dreams you once confessed with hope. But let Joseph's story remind you that delay is never the end. God can turn the page of your story in a single moment, move from His hand, one whisper into the right ear, one dream in the mind of someone with influence, and your life can shift from obscurity to destiny in less than a day. Do not despise the waiting season. For Joseph, the dungeon was not the end. It was the corridor to the palace. And for you, the years of silence, the years of tears, the years that feel wasted are not wasted at all. They are being gathered, redeemed, and prepared for that sudden move of God. And when it comes, it will be so swift, so undeniable, that you will see that not one day of delay was in vain. The story of Israel's deliverance from Egypt is another striking example of how one move from God can erase generations of waiting. For 400 years, the people of Israel groaned under the weight of slavery. They toiled under the harsh hand of Pharaoh, their cries for freedom rising like incense but seemingly unanswered. To those who lived and died in bondage, the silence of heaven must have felt unbearable. How many mothers wept over children born into chains? How many fathers died with calloused hands, never seeing the freedom they longed for? Delay had stretched into generations, and hope must have felt like a fading dream. But God had not forgotten. Though men might forget, though centuries might pass, His covenant does not expire. At the appointed time, God moved, not with hesitation but with power. And when He moved suddenly. In one night, a nation was released. The blood on the doorposts became the sign of protection, and the angel of death passed over their homes. The oppressor who once refused to let them go now urged them to leave quickly, even thrusting treasure into their hands as they departed. Centuries of bondage ended in a single act of deliverance. What had felt like endless delay was wiped away in one decisive night. This is the God you serve, one who does not merely repair situations but transforms them with such swiftness that the years of pain are swallowed up in the joy of freedom. It is as though the weight of time collapses into a single moment when God decrees it is finished. And this truth carries a profound encouragement for your own life. No matter how long you have waited, no matter how deeply the chains of delay seem to cut, one divine command can release you in an instant. Reflect for a moment. What are the chains that have bound you? Is it the chain of financial struggle, where year after year your efforts seem swallowed by lack? Is it the chain of rejection, where doors have remained closed despite your persistence? Is it the chain of broken promises, where you feel forgotten by those who once vowed to stand by you? Whatever your Egypt may be, know this: the same God who moved for Israel is able to move for you. And when he moves, it will not be subtle. Just as Egypt could not deny that something supernatural had happened, so too will those around you be unable to deny the hand of God upon your life. The very ones who oppressed Israel ended up supplying their journey. And in the same way, those who thought to hold you back may find themselves being used as instruments to propel you forward. God does not merely end delay. He transforms it into a testimony so powerful that even your enemies must bear witness. So take heart. The waiting may feel endless, but it is not without purpose. Just as Israel's cries reached heaven, so have yours. And when the appointed night comes, when God makes his move, the years of delay will vanish like a dream at dawn. You will step out, not empty-handed, but carrying the evidence of his faithfulness. One move from God, and the season of waiting will be swallowed by a season of glory. When we look at the concept of delay, it is often tied to the sense of loss. You may feel as though the years have been stolen from you, stolen by betrayal, stolen by circumstances, stolen by the failures of others, or even stolen by your own mistakes. Perhaps you see dreams that never materialized, opportunities that passed you by, relationships that broke, and seasons of your life that cannot be relived. The mind begins to whisper cruel questions. What's the point now? Have I lost too much time? Am I too late for what God promised me? But what if the one who created time itself holds the power to redeem it? What if the years you call wasted are not beyond his ability to restore? The prophet Joel once delivered this stunning promise: I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Notice carefully not just the harvest, not just the crops, but the years. This is the kind of restoration that only God can provide. He does not simply hand you back a portion of what you lost. He multiplies it, compressing blessings into a single moment that compensates for decades of loss. Think of Job. His story is one of devastating loss. Children gone, wealth destroyed, health broken. It seemed as if the enemy had stripped him of everything. Yet at the end of his trial, Job received a double portion of all he had lost. The years of grief, though real, were met by a restoration so overwhelming that his later days were greater than his former. This is not a mere return to balance, it is divine multiplication, where God's one move outweighs the sum of all your delays and losses. In your life, you may look at what feels like ruins. Perhaps you see wasted potential or doors that should have opened long ago. Yet consider this: God does not restore according to human logic. He restores according to his infinite wisdom. You may think you need 20 years to rebuild what was lost, but he can do in 20 minutes what human effort could not accomplish in 20 years. With one opportunity, he can erase the debt of delay. With one relationship, he can heal the years of loneliness. With one breakthrough, he can surpass everything you thought had slipped away. This is why you cannot measure your future by your past. What was taken from you is not the end of your story. God has a way of writing final chapters that overshadow the pain of the middle. He can redeem the years of delay so fully that you will scarcely recognize your life compared to what it once was. The joy will be greater, the peace deeper, the provision richer, because it carries the weight of divine restoration. So do not despair over what you think is gone. Lift your eyes to the one who restores not only blessings but also time. He holds the authority to compress seasons, to redeem wasted years, and to repay with abundance. One move from him, and the long years of delay will be swallowed by the abundance of his restoration. One of the greatest struggles of the human heart is reconciling God's timing with our own expectations. We live in a world ruled by clocks, deadlines, and calendars. We measure our progress by how quickly things happen. And when our prayers seem unanswered, when our lives do not move forward as we imagined, frustration seeps in. Delay begins to feel like denial. The human heart whispers, if God was going to do it, surely he would have done it by now. But the truth is that God's timing is never late, it is precise. He is not slow as some understand slowness, he is exact. What feels to us like delay is often his way of aligning unseen circumstances, preparing not only the blessing but also preparing us to handle it. To give a blessing prematurely can be as destructive as withholding it altogether. And so, in his wisdom, he waits until both the season and the soul are ready. Think of Lazarus. When he fell sick, his sisters sent word to Jesus, expecting him to come at once, but Jesus delayed. By the time he arrived, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. To human eyes it was too late. Hope was buried in the tomb. But to divine eyes, it was right on time. For had Jesus arrived earlier, they would have known him as a healer. But by arriving later, they knew him as the resurrection and the life. The delay was not neglect, it was precision. And so it may be with you. What you call delay, God calls preparation. What you think is wasted time, he calls the necessary season for building your character, enlarging your faith, and aligning circumstances beyond your sight. He has a perspective you do not see, the full tapestry of history, the interwoven lives of countless souls, and the perfect moment for your breakthrough to bring him glory. His clock is not your clock, but it is always right. This truth brings freedom if you allow it. Instead of despairing in waiting, you can rest in trust. Instead of viewing each day as another loss, you can see it as another brushstroke in a masterpiece not yet unveiled. God has never been late to a single promise. Every covenant he has made has been fulfilled in his appointed time, and he has not forgotten you. So when you feel the sting of delay, remember Lazarus, remember Joseph, remember Israel, and remember that your story is not exempt from divine precision. When the moment comes, when God moves, it will not be too early nor too late. It will be perfect. And in that moment you will see that the waiting was not empty, but purposeful. His one move at the appointed time will erase years of delay and reveal the beauty of his timing. His timing. There is a temptation in the human heart to believe that the silent years are wasted years. The prayers prayed in the dark, the tears shed when no one else is watching, the efforts that seem to fall to the ground with no fruit. These moments feel small and forgotten. Yet Scripture teaches us again and again that nothing sown in faith is ever wasted. Every prayer is a seed. Every tear is a seed. Every act of faithfulness is a seed planted in the soil of God's timing. And like every seed, it requires both darkness and waiting before life bursts forth. Think of the farmer who places his seed into the ground. To the untrained eye, it looks as though he has buried it, lost it to the earth. Days pass, sometimes weeks, and nothing appears. The ground looks the same. The farmer could easily despair, believing his seed is gone forever. But the reality is that in the hidden places, beneath the soil, life is stirring, roots are forming, growth is happening, and in the right season, the seed will break through the surface and bear fruit far greater than itself. So it is with your life. The prayers you whispered, the tears you shed, the sacrifices you made, none of these are forgotten. They have been planted into the soil of eternity. Heaven has recorded each one, and God, the master farmer, knows the precise season when they will bloom. When He moves, what seemed buried and forgotten will burst forth with such glory that you will realize none of it was wasted. David once said, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." This picture is profoundly comforting. It means that not one tear you shed has been ignored. God has kept record of them all, storing them as testimony for the day when His vindication and blessing will pour out. When that one move comes, you will see how every tear watered the soil of your breakthrough. And think of Hannah, the barren woman who poured out her soul before God. Year after year she wept in anguish, mocked by others, misunderstood even by the priest. It seemed her prayers were in vain. Yet in one divine moment the Lord remembered her, and Samuel was born. Her tears had not been wasted. Her prayers had not been ignored. They had been preparing the way for a son who would anoint kings and lead a nation back to God. So take courage. Your waiting is not empty. It is pregnant with purpose. Your prayers are not lost. They are stored in heaven. Your tears are not wasted. They are the water that will one day bring forth a harvest. When God makes His move, you will see the field of your life bloom with blessings that make every season of pain worth it. One move from Him, and the silent years will sing with meaning. We live in a world where human effort is celebrated. We are told that if we work harder, strive longer, and push further, we will achieve our goals. And while diligence is important, there comes a point when human effort cannot open the doors that truly matter. You can labor for decades and still find yourself knocking against walls that refuse to move. But when God opens a door, no man can shut it. One divine opportunity, one key in the right lock, one door flung wide by His hand, can outweigh decades of human striving. Consider Esther, a young orphaned woman raised in obscurity. By human standards, she had no claim to royalty, no power to influence the future of her people. Yet one open door shifted everything. The king extended his scepter, granting her favor, and in that moment the destiny of a nation was preserved. What years of effort could never accomplish was achieved by one act of divine favor. This principle holds true across every life. You may have spent years sending out applications, seeking recognition, longing for opportunity, only to face rejection. But God can breathe on one opportunity, one introduction, one conversation, and suddenly the years of closed doors become irrelevant. His open door does not simply restore balance, it propels you far beyond what your effort could have achieved. Think of Peter in the New Testament. He toiled all night casting his nets, straining with all his strength, yet caught nothing. To a fisherman, this was more than discouraging, it was devastating. Yet with one word from Jesus, "Cast your net on the other side," everything changed. The same lake, the same nets, the same fishermen. The only difference was God's word, and with that single instruction, the nets overflowed with abundance. The all-worried wondered, this is how divine doors work. They are not about effort, they are about alignment. They reveal to us that success is not born out of human striving alone, but out of the hand of God moving at the right time. And when He moves, the results surpass logic. The years of failure are overshadowed by a harvest so great it defies explanation. Perhaps in your life you have been straining at locked doors. You have worked tirelessly, prayed fervently, and yet the breakthrough seems distant. Take heart, because it only takes one open door from God to change everything. That door may open suddenly in a way you did not expect, through a person you did not anticipate, or in a place you never imagined. And when it does, it will make the years of effort seem small compared to the greatness of what He gives. To wait with hope. Do not measure your future by past failures. The God who opened doors for Esther and multiplied the nets for Peter has not lost His power. When He moves, one door will open that erases years of striving. One divine opportunity will prove that His hand upon your life is greater than all human effort combined. When God moves in your life, it is never done in a corner. His blessings are not meant to be hidden. They are meant to shine as testimony to His power. One of the most astonishing truths about divine intervention is that it not only transforms your life, but it also becomes visible to those around you. Friends, enemies, and strangers alike. When He makes His move, it is undeniable. Consider Daniel in the lion's den. His enemies schemed to destroy him, and the king himself was bound by law to throw Daniel to certain death. Yet when morning came and Daniel stood unharmed, there was no denying the hand of God. The king declared that Daniel's God was the living God who endures forever. The very attempt to silence him only became the stage upon which God displayed His power. His deliverance was not quiet. It was public, undeniable, and remembered through the ages. This is the pattern of God's work. When He moves, it silences doubters, it humbles enemies, and it inspires faith in those who witness it. Your life is no different. There are people who have watched you struggle, who may have even mocked your faith, whispering that your prayers are in vain. They have seen the years of delay and assumed that you were forgotten. But when God makes His move, they too will see. They will witness the doors opening, the blessings pouring, the favor flowing, and they will know that this could not have been the work of man. Even your enemies will be forced to acknowledge it. The same people who underestimated you, who spoke curses over you, who sought to keep you in delay, they will have to stand and watch as God lifts you. Just as Pharaoh's army stood powerless when the Red Sea split, just as Joseph's brothers bowed before the brother they betrayed, so too all those who opposed you recognize the undeniable hand of God. And this recognition is not about your glory, but about His. Your life becomes the canvas upon which He paints His power. This truth should give you courage. You do not have to defend yourself, prove yourself, or strive endlessly to convince others of your worth. God Himself will do it. His one move will be your vindication. His timing will be your answer, and His hand upon your life will be the testimony that no one can deny. When He moves, the evidence will be too great to ignore. So live in expectation. Even now, God is arranging the moment when your life will speak louder than your words ever could. Your vindication will not be whispered, it will be witnessed. And in that moment you will see that the years of delay were only setting the stage for the undeniable revelation of God's faithfulness. One move from Him, and your life will declare to all who see it, "This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes." My friend, the message is clear. Years of delay do not intimidate God. He is not bound by the ticking of the clock or the passing of the seasons. He is the Redeemer of time, the Restorer of years, the God of sudden shifts and divine reversals. One move from His hand is all it takes. Joseph's prison became a palace in a single night. Israel's centuries of bondage ended in a single act of deliverance, Lazarus's death was overturned by a single command. And your story too can be rewritten in a single moment. Do not despair in the waiting. Do not despise the years that feel silent. For every tear has been gathered, every prayer recorded, every moment of faithfulness remembered. The delay is not wasted. It is preparation. And when God decides to move, He will do it suddenly, decisively, undeniably. So hold fast. Trust His timing. Lift your eyes beyond the calendar, beyond the years, beyond the pain of waiting. Because when His hand moves, you will not simply catch up. You will step into a blessing so overwhelming that the years of delay will fade like shadows before the sunrise. One move from God will erase years of delay, and when it happens, the world will know that He is faithful, and you will know that He never forgot you.